Welcome to the lesson on project management life cycles. In this lesson, we want to talk about the 5 unique life cycles in project management, including initiation, planning, execution, monitoring and controlling, and closure. Now, let's talk about what a project life cycle is. A project life cycle is the path for a project from start to finish. As you are aware, a project is a unique endeavor, temporary in nature, and has a start and end date, and it is implemented to achieve specific results. And in so doing, the project should go through a unique pathway that will enable you start the project and also finish the project. Each phase of the project lifecycle builds toward subsequent phase and helps to create a structure for your project. For instance, the project initiation phase helps to set the foundation for the project for the planning phase. The planning phase pulls together all the pieces of the project and you are able to set the project up for execution. Project execution is important while you're also monitoring and controlling during that process. Then after that, you can close all the project to officially end the project and turn over the results to the stakeholders. In project lifecycle, there are 5 phases. 1, project initiation. 2, project planning. 3, project execution. 4, project monitoring and controlling. 5, project closure. In this lesson, we're going to explore each phase of the project lifecycle to know what happens and what to do at each phase. Let's move ahead. So the first we're going to talk about is project initiation. The project initiation is the first phase in project management lifecycle, where a project is officially authorized and starts to take shape. There are a few things that you need to consider, very important when you are initiating a project. Number 1, you need to define the project purpose. What is the purpose for the project? Why does this project exist? Why are we initiating this? Why are we starting this project? Why do we want to carry on this project? We need to define the purpose of this project so that it will give us enough reason for which we are implementing this. In so doing, we need to do what we call problem identification. Problem identification is directly the work that we're going to do to change the result. So every project is intended to change the problem, create impact, and improve situation. So what is the problem we are trying to address? This will enable us develop a purpose for the project. We need to outline the objectives that the project intends to achieve and the desired outcomes that we achieve at the end of the project. Outcomes are the changes in the project that will create to the beneficiaries and also looking at the project benefits. Number 2, we need to identify key stakeholders and their interests or requirements. There are different stakeholders per the different project you want to implement and the different sector or industry you're going to implement the project. Stakeholders are a group of people, individuals, and organizations that have interest in your project. They could be public, they could be private individuals, or they could be even government agencies and ministries. They could be NGOs, development partners, individuals, and other influencers that you need to include. Identifying stakeholders will enable you know how to engage them and what support they can give to the project at different levels. Stakeholders have interest in the project and can work with the project directly and indirectly. Also, we need to conduct a feasibility study to assess the project's viability. The project is implemented within constraints, and there are several limitations to look at. For us to implement a project, even before we start to put in resources, we need to be clear as to whether this project is achievable. Here, we need to conduct feasibility study. This study is to enable or assess the possibility of implementing this project and also to enable us know the resource requirements for this project as to whether we are able to meet up. Resource requirement look at the people, materials, and equipment. Then we need to develop a project charter that outlines the project goal, the project scope, and deliverable, and also the project timeline. The project charter is a document that enables us to summarize the project, which will clearly allow us to probe the project scope. The project scope is what the project will cover. This could be the limitation of the project and what included in the project. Then the project goals look at what exactly we want to achieve at the end of this project. The project deliverable will be looking at what are the key services and products that will be delivered at the end of this project. And then the high level timeline would be when this project is going to be implemented in the duration and the particular time frame. Project initiation sets the foundation for successful project planning and execution by ensuring that stakeholders understand the project's goal and agree on the initial plans and requirements. The important aspect of project initiation is for us to be able to agree with stakeholders on what exactly the project will be focusing on, and also to enable us know what exactly we are going to achieve at the end of this project. Here we can agree on the plans and the requirements initially to give start to the planning phase. After we initiate a project, we need to move on the project planning phase. In the project planning phase, we need to consider a few things like number one, creating a project plan, which includes breaking down the work into manageable tasks. Here we need to define the project requirements, the project constraints, and the project assumptions. Project constraints include time, quality, cost, and other form of constraint like risk. We also need to look at the assumptions that we need to be true for this project to be implemented. Assumptions could be looking at the availability of resources, the availability of human resource, the availability of financial resource, and other resources included. It could also look at the support from stakeholders, including the community, beneficiaries, team members, and donors. There are a lot of assumptions that we will come up with depending on the specific project that you are implementing. These assumptions are very important because if these assumptions are true, then the project is likely to succeed. However, if the assumptions we make are not true, then the project will likely fail. Let's look at how to develop what we call work breakdown structure, WBS, which is a critical input to project planning. It's very important because when we develop the work breakdown structure, we can organize the project tasks into structure, and then we put it in the structure of what is going to be done at this point, and then we reduce it. For example, if you are implementing a project and you have a training component in the project, training is a work, it's an activity that we are going to implement in the project. But to conduct the training, we have several things that need to be done. For instance, we need to develop the training materials. We need to set up the training venue. We need to mobilize or get the training resources. We need to communicate to participants. We need to get facilitators. So all these small tasks to enable us conduct the training must be structured. It must be organized very well. That is the work breakdown structure. Then we can estimate resource requirements. This includes people. It also looks at materials and equipment. Every project requires resources, people, human resources. And this will look at how to get people with the right skills, with the right knowledge, and the right qualifications for the project. So it depends on the sector you're involved with. You need to look at the people who have the competence and knowledge and skills that will be valuable to the project. Then we look at the material resources. What are the materials needed for us to implement this project? Equipment. What equipment can we use or will be necessary for this project to be implemented? Here we can reduce it by creating what we call resource plan. Then afterwards, we need to create what we call a project schedule. A project schedule will include task, dependency, and critical path analysis. The project schedule will enable us clearly draw out what the project will be doing at every step of the way. Here we can do a quarterly schedule or yearly schedule, or we can do monthly and weekly schedule, depending on the duration of the project. There are tools you can use to come up with doing a project schedule like Gantt chart, for instance. Then we identify and analyze potential risks and develop a risk management plan. Every project experiences risks, and every project has its own unique risks. The risks are different things that will encounter the project and could shy away or kind of distract the project or destroy the project results. Or it could be reducing the impact of the project. So we need to look at what are the different risks, and then we categorize those risks into high risks, medium risks, and low risks. Then we are able to now look at the high risks and see what strategy can we put in place in terms of reducing or mitigating them or totally eradicating them. Then we also look at the medium and the low risks in terms of when this happens, what do we do? Response strategy. This is extremely critical because we don't need to wait for everything to happen before we start planning. So during the project planning phase, we need to visualize or foresee all the potential risks and then plan to respond to each risk when they occur. Then we set up a communication plan, which is project communication management. Communication plan will enable us know how do we communicate, how do we share information, who is to share information, who is to share it to who, and what to do with the information that we share. So communicating among stakeholders and team members will be very important to successfully implement a project. So we need to plan our communication, channel of communication, what to communicate, who to communicate to, frequency of communication, when do we communicate, and all that. We need to create a detailed budget. The detailed budget will look at all the cost lines and estimating different activities of the project and what costs we're going to carry on. The budget will include the program cost. What are we going to spend on the program, on the project itself? You could look at the administrative costs, and then you could also look at the personnel costs. You have to also look at monitoring mechanisms during your project planning. Monitoring mechanisms look at how you're going to monitor the project resources throughout the project implementation phase. Let's jump into phase 3, project execution. During the project execution phase, we need to focus on implementing the project plan by assigning tasks to team members. Here, we need to learn how to dedicate tasks to different team members with the right skill. It's important to know who to give a specific task to due to their skill and knowledge level. Then we also provide clear instructions to team members on what to do and how to do it. We need to give them guidelines if necessary and support them with the resources for them to implement their specific tasks. We need to monitor project progress and track the actual work being done. Monitoring is critical in project execution. Here, we need to look at what we are doing and what is planned. We need to manage the changes and other issues that will come during the project execution. Remember, during planning phases, we've done risk management plan. However, there are some risks that will come that you didn't even expect. And so you need to manage changes when they occur. Then we need to also regularly have meetings among team members to share information, collaborate, and also create alignment within the project. Then we need to manage project resources, which include people, materials, and equipment effectively and efficiently. We need to adhere to quality standards and project specifications. During the project initiation phase, we agree with our stakeholders on what the project will deliver. During the planning phase, we also did another adjustment to the initiation plan, and we were able to agree on what exactly the project will deliver on. So we need to ensure that we adhere to that standard, that quality standard, and the specifications in the project. We need to collect and document project data for monitoring and evaluation purposes. Throughout the project execution phase, you need to collect and document information. So data collection and data management are very important in project execution phase. This will help you know how to monitor and evaluate your project. Even when an external evaluator comes to do an evaluation on your project, you are able to provide every supporting document for that evaluation. Phase number 4, project monitoring and controlling. The project monitoring and controlling phase is critical and important for every project management process. Here you need to, number 1, continuously track project activities against the project plan. So we have a project plan that we develop during the planning phase. In the monitoring and controlling phase, we need to track or monitor the project activities. What are we doing and what we said we're going to do? Are we doing them? Is it the same? Are we doing what exactly we plan to do? Next, we need to monitor project milestones, timelines, and deliverables. We have milestones to achieve. We need to monitor whether we are achieving them. We have timelines to follow. We need to monitor whether we are following the project schedule. We have deliverables to achieve at every point of the way. We need to know whether we are achieving the project deliverables. For instance, whether we have developed the project reports, whether we've completed the first phase of the project, and all that. We need to compare the actual progress with planned progress and identify any deviations. Here we need to be clear enough as to whether we are doing what is in our project plan or there are any differences between what is in the project plan or what is ongoing. We need to assess and manage project risks by implementing mitigation strategies. Here we have already developed the project risk management plan in the project planning phase. During the monitoring and controlling phase, we need to assess and manage project risks. Because when we're implementing a project, the risks will come. Some will not be planned for, some we are planned for. So when they come, when we see these potential risks coming up, we need to assess. Assessment will be looking at how does this risk impact the project? To what extent does this risk affect the project results? And once we've done our assessment and we see that this risk is very high, we need to make sure we reduce this risk. How do we manage it? Then we plan mitigation strategies. We need to maintain effective communication with stakeholders and provide regular feedbacks. Of course, communication is very critical in project management, and it's the attested part of project management that you need to have communication skill as a project manager. To effectively manage project requires you to communicate with team members and stakeholders on a regular basis so that they are updated on the project status. We need to conduct regular project reviews and also adjust the project plan as needed. Okay, so project review, we'll be looking at how far are we gone? To what percent are we completed our project? What are the different activities we are yet to do? And what are the resources we have? How do we go about it? So when we review our project status regularly, it enables us to adjust the project plan as needed. However, there are some projects that is not easily adaptable, or you can easily change once you already started the project and you've gone far. For instance, in the construction industry, you have projects that will go as far as building to some level, and it's difficult for you to change. If you want to change, then you have to be ready to take on the cost. Monitor and control project costs. You already have a project budget that you developed from the planning phase. In the monitoring and controlling phase, we need to monitor and control the project cost. This is to ensure we stay within budget so we don't experience cost constraint. We need to use project management tools and techniques to monitor and control what we call project progress. The project management tools are software that we can use to monitor and control projects. There are many project management tools out there like Asana, Monday.com, Project Manager, Trello, and several other project management tools, even Gantt chart, for instance. All these tools are important to help you monitor your project in real time, even from any location. And you can see what's going well and what is not going well. The last phase in the project lifecycle is the project closure phase. The project closure phase is where we evaluate the project's success against defined objectives. Remember, in the initiation phase, we agree with our stakeholders on what to deliver. In the planning phase, we also reaffirm that and agree with what the project is going to do. At the end of the project, we need to evaluate to see the success of the project against the defined objectives as to whether we achieve what the project intended to achieve. Then we need to conduct a final project review and document lessons learned. The final project review will enable us to know all we've able to do, and we are able to close on the project officially. Again, important, we need to document lessons learned. Whenever we implement projects, we learn. We learn from our mistakes. We also learn from good things that we did. For instance, if you were good at managing time during project implementation, you want to document that to inform you on the next project so that you're able to take some of these lessons and improve on future projects. Maybe you were able to communicate very well during your project execution, or you see that coordination was a challenge during project execution. Maybe there was limited communication workflow, you didn't have enough planning, and you were not able to communicate, with stakeholders and team members effectively, and that impact the project. You need to document that for future projects so you'll be able to learn from there. And there are several things like stakeholder engagement. Maybe you were able to engage stakeholders. You had a lot of strategies put in place to get their support, and you succeeded doing that. You need to document that so that you will learn from that process for the next project. During the project closeout phase, we need to ensure to complete all project deliverables and obtain approvals as necessary. We need to look at our project plan and see what we've done in reality and know whether we've completed every task. We need to also know whether we've transitioned the project into what we call the project outputs and giving it out to the appropriate stakeholders. During the closeout phase, we can give out the project, dedicate the project results to stakeholders where we turn over the project for their use. Then we close out the contracts. Every contract we had with vendors, employees, or whatever, we need to close them out. We need to release resources. All the resources we use on the project, including people, materials, equipment, we need to release them. Then we need to perform some administrative tasks where we have to ensure we close all the books for our project. Importantly, we need to celebrate project success and recognize the contributions of the project team. The project team, you know, implemented the project and it was successful. Here, we need to recognize and appreciate everyone's contribution. In conclusion, by following all the structure project management approach, starting from project planning, project initiation, planning, execution, monitoring, controlling, and the closeout, organizations can actually increase the likelihood of successful project completion. Here you can meet stakeholder expectations, you can deliver the desired outcomes while effectively managing project constraints. In this lesson, we've covered the 5 unique phases of the project lifecycle, coming from project initiation, which is developing a project idea, coming up with a project purpose, objectives, and goals, and also identifying stakeholders and developing a feasibility study or conducting a feasibility study that will inform you on what the project requires for success. And we talk about project planning, where we have to do a work breakdown structure and come up with a detailed budget and also risk management communication plans to inform our project execution. Project execution is where we do the work that we planned in our project and also assign team members, monitor them, and ensure that everything is going well. Project monitoring and controlling is where we make sure we monitor every aspect of the project to ensure that the project is achieving what we intended to. And also, project closure is where we agree on what we have done in the project plan and what is done in reality, and make sure that all tasks have been completed successfully and we can close everything and give out the project outputs or results to the stakeholders for their use. Thank you very much for completing this lesson. I hope you've learned something very unique from the lesson here today. Thank you very much.